This is the incredible teaching all metal F35 jet engine. G'day, it's another bloody gorgeous day here in Paradise, Christchurch, New Zealand. Teaching as a brand has been around for ages. Teaching have focused on metal model engines with working parts. For example, their radial engine is a delight, and their four-stroke engine models are a delight. These are things that a competent school kid can put together or with a little bit of help, and they are a pleasure to have on the desk. Really quality parts, really, good fine clearances, and a few extra features that you may be surprised with. I've absolutely pulled all the stops out with a semi-scale jet engine model of the F35 fighter's jet engine, and this is one of the most advanced jet engines out there. So I've opened the box, I'm looking at the parts, and I'm just blown away. The ability that modern model engineers have to play with metal, to get those metal parts looking great where they want, the ability to use numerous small parts. This model jet engine is not only fully metal, it doesn't only have hundreds of precision parts, including gears, bearings, etc. It looks fantastic on the desk. It's big, and even the base is a solid metal construction. Who's it for? Look, it could be for an educator, it could be at the flying school. Any teenage kid interested in being a pilot or interested in aviation could be encouraged with this. You mostly just need patience. You need to take your time, you need to just go through it methodically. The instructions are frankly outstanding. I've never seen Chinese instructions as good. For example, where things could be confused one side or another, they have labels. When they've finished telling you how to put it together, they give suggestions for how you can check that you've done it correctly. And so as I've been going through, now I wouldn't call myself an experienced kit builder by any means, but I'm experienced enough to know that I can see what they're getting at in the build, and then I can think, well, I could check that by doing such and such. And then the very next instruction I look at, check this, check your construction by doing such and such. And I'm having an absolute blast building the kit. So my expectations are quite high for this. And I mean, right away, this is impressive. It's a massive box. It's really well packaged, as you can see. They're really well known for their packaging and presentation. So, small bypass turbofan engine. And as an example of what you can expect, so that's very, very, very thorough. Look at it. It's got the components. I'm going to learn quite a bit about it, but it's got components here, what each one does. The camera can barely do these justice, but these metal parts are just stunning. Goodness me, I'm very lucky to have this. What a beautiful kit. So teaching have been honing their ability over a number of models over the last few years, and it's culminated in this. So the parts have got numbers here. We've got numerous bearings and fittings. A complex model like this needs some pretty good layout instructions I'm just staggered by what the engineers can do with, look, I mean, all metal parts. This is aluminium. Even these black parts. Goodness me. To actually receive this, to actually lay it out, to actually start to figure out how big this must be, that's my hand. It's going to be huge. And to actually see the sheer number of parts. I've got some Lego machines that I've built, and I'm sure that if I can build a Lego machine, I can build this, but wow. I'm really excited and I can't wait to build it. It's going to make this, which I made years ago. It's a very hot day for pussycats, you'll see in the background. So this is the engine to an F35. So it's one of the most high-tech, got some beautiful artwork here. Principal structure diagram. The core, the rotor assembly, and we've got the names for the various assemblies. Combustion chamber, low pressure turbine, high pressure turbine. I'm going to be learning a lot. And of course this has also got a base. And it starts. Assemble the intake gearbox component. You see we've got numbered parts and a screw and then a final unit. We've also got a bearing. This is the 09 part. That's where we start. We also have lots of connectors and fittings. Individually numbered parts here, looking fantastic. Nothing that I can film can describe to you how good they feel, the metal parts. 04. 1110 bearing. Low pressure compressor assembly, part 60 and 53. That's part 60. And again, it's pretty clear because it says A1 marks forward, and here we have the A1. So we know that that goes on there. A1 marks forward. So what I'm already finding, I'm only a few minutes in, but I'm already finding that they've thought about which way around the parts go. They've thought about parts that look similar. They've thought about where you're going to find your screws. They've categorized and identified even the screws and described them. So I'm really feeling confident that I can do this. That's part 19 there. Now we need part 54. Part 54. There's our A2 mark there. The A2 mark goes forward on this. It locates nicely in there. And we've got to line up these screws. And then we've got the nuts that go on the back. Once I get one or two of these little lock nuts in at the back, then the whole thing's going to become easier. There's one. Comes with a beautiful hex driver and another beautiful hex driver and tweezers. Okay, so some good tools. These have got a nice feel to them. Okay, part 59 goes in the middle. Part 59 goes in the middle of this, like so. Fits beautifully. Standard and ubiquitous 6mm screws here. Don't want it coming to bits. It says assemble the low voltage upper box window panel. The parts are 84 and 46. and 84. 84 is a panel. And there's some bags here with some numbers on them. We might have a cat come up and say hello in a minute. Hello, Blue. Oh, that's my boy. What do you think of this, Blue? Yeah, he's just going to stalk off, importantly. Blue, we're looking for a part number 84. And I think it's this one here. So this wasn't numbered in mine. This isn't numbered, but it is actually... not that one, not that one, that one. So that is part 84. And it goes here. Due to the angle of this here edge, this is going to attach from the top and it's going to bend slightly, but not too much to break it. Going to go in from the top, like this, and just clip in under there. Okay, so with a little bit of bending, you can get that to fit in there. That's not even going to rattle. That's an excellent fit. I'm just going to... Right, that's one part, and then we use black parts 37. 37. Right, here we go. Black part 37. You can see the edge of this, which one it's going to go into. Okay. Sorry, the bigger one was the bigger one was the 37. 37 and 38. And it's easy enough to tell. They fit. And we need part 45 and the other 37, 38. 45 is the other side of this. 45 and the other 37 and 38. Easy. They just sit in there. Pay attention to the orientation of the circle. Okay, so let's just check that our blades are going the right way. The unit that we created at the start, and that's going to go into the middle of this. So see these surfaces here, this one and this one, they're just going to fit exactly on these black surfaces here. Well, not exactly, but close. Okay, with those in there, we should be able to move this around, because that's later on that's going to go, you know, there's not much room now, but that's going to sit in the middle of those. Getting those little nuts on there is not going to be simple, but we'll do it. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought. It's a matter of holding them, just holding that nut there with my thumb. I'll do one on the other side. I'm just going to check that my black bits are where they're supposed to be. They are. Again, it mentions that we want the normal nuts on the inside too, and the lock nuts on the outside too. So this is the kind of point where you hope that it's correct, because there's not much movement there. I'm going to do these up not tight to start with, and then tighten them all when I'm all together. I think they might be choosing lock nuts in the outside because it helps locate these corners better. My method for these is to put the lock nut down, hold it with my finger, and then bring the screw up. Yeah, gravity is your friend for lining these things up. So I'm going to use gravity to hold that there and bring this in from the bottom. Put my finger on that. Obviously you want to get that edge as tidy as you can. Okay, not going to lie, that was a mission, getting that there, getting that all together, all these little bolts along here. Fiddly as. Okay, before you do this up, Make sure that these are sitting exactly where they should. These are sitting where they should around here. Might do to rotate them a bit so that this window is sitting down correctly. Assemble the intermediate receiver assembly 105, 1112 and 1112. 105, here we go. Small bevel gear 105 is in here. Little bearings in the bottom, 105 at the top, 112 at the bottom. This is 36. Sorry, this was in the middle of that. That's 36 there. Get the size of it. And it goes onto this unit here, which screws on to there. And the screws are our old friends. Actually, they're 131s this time. 131, 2.5. Again, I'm using the supplied driver here, which is very nice, actually. Phillips head, Phillips head, Phillips head. 4 of those. Do them tight. These screw in flush. On the outer, the 130 screws go here. Yeah, the bearing feels fine there. Right, where are we up to? So, yeah, we've got this assembly. This is called the diversion ring and the bevel gear. Now we have the central bevel gear, which is part 104, 1110, 1110 and 14. Now these are quite small parts. They're actually part of this. 104, one of these. Okay, big bearings, 1110. Machined aluminium, number 14 mount. The bearings go in the mount. Nice press fit. And this bevel gear goes in here. Yep, nice. Guy? Yep. I'm trying to do a video. Now, this then goes face down. And they go in from this side, like that. Yep, that's definitely working. Oh, the old droppage of screw. You will get a bit of droppage of screw, I guarantee. It's a special person indeed who can get through a kit like this with no droppage of screw. Right, oh, there is a shaft, number 7. This is the transmission shaft. We've got a couple of 112 bearings. 112 bearings are quite big. 112 bearings, another bevel 105, and a shaft 07. It's not a large shaft. Okay. So that is a self-locating. Look at that. You press it in all the way, it self-locates, and it's nice because it's beveled shaft. Okay. Just press fit. Nice. Level by hand. Yeah, it said test. Well, I've just done that. I mean, that's natural, isn't it? You would test that that rotates smoothly. We need to assemble the number 2 bearing using part 39. Yep, which we've already got out. There's a lovely black part, back aluminium part. And we need 3 110 bearings. The 110 bearings are pretty big. Let's have a look. Yeah, we have 3 of those left. They're a fairly tight press fit. That's a quality insert there. Yep, that's really quite a tight, very tight fit. I mean, you can press it in, but you don't want to get it the wrong angle. But that's just perfect. Look at that. That's nice. Okay, and then we need a 104 part. Okay, there's the 104. That goes in this side. And this goes into here. Can you hear it rotating in there? Pretty good though. Might put a little bit of grease on those, I think. So where you've got gears gearing around, I would put some grease on them like so, just to make them a little bit quieter. Yeah, a little bit of grease on there. 7 125 screws. There's a place where you don't need any. You know, there's like 8 holes drilled on the black thing, but one of them is blind, so you only need 7. So if you have sausage fingers like me, you might want to use the included tweezers to place these screws in here. I'm getting on okay with my sausage fingers. And you know what they say when you get to my age, use it or lose it. I don't want to lose my sausage fingers. The only sausage fingers I've got. Yes, in fact, it's got a specific note that says no screws need to be installed here, which is in that place there. And then it says rotate by hand. And I think it's fine. Okay, so what I'm finding with this is, if I push this in all the way, it's tough. If it's just out a little bit, it's fine. It's not running as smoothly as I'd like. Listen to that. We're just going to see how we go. Might loosen these off a bit and then try them again, I think. Yeah, yep. Just doing these up finger tight, really. No, it's still... Okay, I think that'll be all right. Okay. So what I've been trying to do there is get this running as smoothly as possible. It feels like I almost need to put a paper gasket under there. But I think it'll be all right. I don't think it'll be that tight. Okay, we've got some more parts here. 56, 8 and 130. I believe 8 is our motor with a gearbox. 106 and 108 are gear sleeve and a motor gear. Okay. Motor gear, 2 of those, and a gear, no, a gear sleeve. That will be this thing here. Gear sleeve and a gear and a motor. Oh, there's 2 parts. No, there's 2 parts deep in the thing. There we go. See, they're both 56. I need to put the motor on this one. Going to do those up tight, because that's a torqued part, isn't it? A vibrating torqued part. It's under torque. Now we use the spacer and the nut. Can only go on one way, which is that way. Come on, get in there. Then we need a 113 bearing. Got a bunch of these little 113 bearings. So we've got another motor gear and a transitioning gear. Transitioning gear is the bigger one, that goes in the middle. We need part 88 and 87. Those are in here. They're up the top there, 88 and 87. Okay, and this is what parts 88 and 87 look like. Okay, I'm going to put some grease in here in a minute. Right, we're going to need I'm going to need some tweezers to get it in the deep one. Assemble the high pressure rotor rear plate 51. This one here. It's already got the bearing in it. Okay, so it's already got the bearing in it. It's showing it as a different color, but it's already in there. It's already pressed in. And this goes onto this side with the short vanes. Okay, it goes on there, the short vanes. 4mm M2s. We've got a bunch of those. Those are going to go around the edge of this, like so. Fairly tight, actually. There we go. That's one. We'll do the other 6. 1, 3, 5, 6. You know, as you build this, when you're dealing with beautiful parts like this, you do feel a bit of the thrill of working with, you know, nice, solid, engineered parts. I feel confident that I'm going to end up with something really worth having, worth sitting on the desk. And I'm definitely enjoying the process of putting this together. Okay, right. Assemble the upper receiver 6-stage high-pressure stator. We need E6. And number 78, E6 marked. So 78 is this. Oh no, it says 31. So, sorry, E6 is the label on part 31. Okay, part 31, where are you? Here we go. So there's a number of part 31s, 4 of them to be precise. Here they are. We're looking for one of these with E6 on it. B2, E6. The E6 is there by my fingernail. See, this has a little, it's not the same both ways around. Sits in there perfectly with a press fit. Okay, so there are a lot of these dotted around in your set. Goodness gracious me. Basically, we're using one of those for each of these rings here. And again, you want to get the writing around the right way there. Yep. So the writing in these is like this, and then they just press fit. So really good fit. So again, we're getting this surface here coming out like this on these steps. And again, you can see the lineup of these parts here. Just tell you though, these ones with this little corner bit here, right, they need to be pushed in quite hard there. The others don't. The others just sit in there, but that needs to be pushed in. Really difficult getting those to go together. This thing. Wow. Oh, and it just fits. It just absolutely fits there and rotates. That's amazing. But how am I going to get the other side on? Miles, can you help me? I need you to screw something up for me while I hold it. So these bits go together really, really well. So here's a tip for doing up these. Jam that down there. Jam that down there, and then you can do the other side of it up. This is a very, very ambitious build. I mean, there's what, like a millimeter? Right, 49 and 48 are this red color. They still feel like aluminium. Sound like aluminium. Okay, 47. Another beautiful, big, complex part. And the terrace, the high pressure turbine stator, part 30. Oh no, we're using the black part. Yeah, okay, so the terrace is facing up. It means this edge here, like a terrace. That's a terrace there, okay. So in the book that's black, here it's red. Then we use part 50. This is part 50. We use part 11. This is part 11, quite small. We use part 11 with part 27. So the C1 mark is up. This is part 27. The C1 mark is up. And the little 135s come in from the back. So if you're wondering, this particular assembly, there are recessed holes. Yes, this goes in the recessed holes. This is part 27 to part 11. The heads go in the recessed holes. That's apparently the underneath of it. If you used the 125s, you would end up with a piece of screw coming out of here. The 135s screws are exactly the right length. And they will go flush. Like that. Flush on both sides. Yeah, so if you guys are following along at home, make sure you've got the right screws in it. That's flush on that side and flush on that side. There's a bearing 110. It's a big bearing. We've got one left of that. Ooh, tight fit. Yeah, very good. Very good tight fit there. Yep, part 57 is this massive part here. Well, that does fit. Look. It's got D2 marked on it. Let's see if we can find 25. 25 has indeed got D2 marked on it. Part 12. Part 12 is obvious. This is part 12. D2 marks forward on this side and this comes on the back like that. And we're using the little 125s from what we're calling forward. Okay. And this thing, it's just sitting in there. Apparently I missed out the screws. There are actually little screws that go in, see? There. These are 135s, the little short ones. They've got recessed places for them to go in. Now the interesting thing about these is that's not actually a screw hole in here, it's just a kind of an open hole for that to locate. $29. So I'm thinking this is 29. Yep, it's the right size. Here, sort of facing outwards, so that's going to go in there. Okay, quite tricky to get this in here without just pushing that out. But yeah, it doesn't perfectly fit either. First part that doesn't, but there you go. This is the 26 part, facing forward with the D1. There it is, D1 facing forward, just screws on there. Okay, part 28, big, beautiful, one of the most beautiful parts. And a bearing 111. There's only one left of those. Looks like it's going to be a press fit in here, which it is. Actually, it's just a falling in fit. Right, and then that. So, just goes on top of there, screws in from the back, I imagine. Yes, it does. The bunch of 125s. Okay, so every third screw and aligned with these. So we're doing that one and that one. And you know, so those are the screws we're doing in to screw that on apparently. Actually, that makes it pretty difficult to get them in. I see. Right. Okay, so what they're saying is you want these internal screws to line up with this screw to line up with this screw. Okay, those are the ones we're putting in. That's some pretty highly detailed stuff. Okay. Getting there. I think that's 12. I'm up to 11. Number 11. You do get kind of a routine. You figure out an easy way to do it, and you do it. So even now that we've got all of these finished, we find that we still have some leftover pins. These are a tiny part. I have lost one. Even having lost one, they've left me 2 extras. So it's great to have a few extras of the small parts for people like me who lose stuff. This is my current working space. We've got lights, we've got beautiful weather outside, and we are surrounded by cats. It's exactly the way I want to be. This is Cattypuss, busy licking his butt for the camera. Hey Cattypuss, sweetie? Yes, a good boy. Day 2, we have these parts built, and I'm just squeezing these together so that they just fit really smoothly. I think I'm going to use a little bit of thread locker on these. This is the first time in the engine I've thought of doing that. And the reason is that as these are wiggling back and forth, they loosen the screws. So yeah, I'm just going to use a little bit of thread locker in those, I think. What I'm trying to do is make sure that these are flexible without being rattly, and that the screws are not going to come out. So the hardest bit probably is this bit here. I want these to fit on here without being tight. If they are tight, I bend them out just slightly with my fingers. That's perfect. Don't want it to rattle. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit of thread locker. This is, if you just want to not bend them at all and not use thread locker, then that's absolutely fine. Yeah, and there may not be any point to me doing this, but to my mind, I feel that these are probably going to need to be flexible, and that if they stick, it might not look good, and if they come undone, it's definitely not going to be good for me, because it might be really difficult to get at these screws. So I figure, do it really well, do it once, do it to the best of my ability, and yeah, maybe I'm extending the time of the build, but that doesn't worry me so much. With the pleasure of knowing that I'm doing the best job I can do. Okay, that's pretty good there. A little bit tighter there. Yeah, like I said, I was really pleased that these they had extra ones of these pins here. And you know, the first 1 or 2 of anything repetitive that you do takes ages, and then you get in the swing of it and it just flows through. And like I say, it's sort of meditative. If you're wondering how tight, what I'm doing is I'm getting it so that it's tight up against here, but not pulling the whole thing into here. So this will be on the list of tools that you don't absolutely need, but are useful. The thread lock, you don't absolutely need, but you might find it useful. And the other things that I've definitely found useful is my Weha set, including the small, the micro sockets. And you can get micro sockets from sterlingkit.com, but I don't think you can get this set. But those have been useful for tightening some things up. Something I saw years ago that I haven't seen very often is your miniature wrenches, and I've found those useful for doing up stuff as well. Everything else is supplied, and you don't need those, they just might help a little. So part 102, the internal panel fixing seat, comes out of this. And we should have, I think, 12 of those. Let me just, it tells me here. Yeah, 12. I've dropped them, so I'm missing some. I better find them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How can I have lost half of them, fully half of them? Again, you need about 10 fingers. This is one of those times when you do need extra fingers. Place the head into there first, hold that in. Yep. That might reduce the number of fingers you need. Okay, these do come out a little bit on the other side. You don't have to worry about that. That's correct. Now once you get, you see they've got this part here that fits into the one next to it. So it gets a bit tricky assembling those. They're getting a little bit harder to place as I get more and more of them in. Oh my goodness, how many octopus paws do you need to do this? Right. Right, okay, so we need to put the next part of this on, which is 103. 103, here we go. These go next. Okay, like this, right? Except these all need to be like this, so you can do that. Wow, that is fiddly. Best to hold it up like this, I think. Get all those down there. Okay, that is over there. That is in there, okay? That's under there. That's over there. Okay? We're going to go around doing that. Meanwhile, the insides need to be out like that. Like this one, see? Okay, so I'm just pulling these like that, getting them down there. Okay, making sure that that's in there like that. And then making sure that that's like... Right, I need about 2 sets of extra hands, but that's what we should be looking for. Okay, it's a wall here. I'm going to start setting some of these down. When I say setting some of these down, I mean putting the closing thing on this bit here. I mean, oh my god, can I just say, this is a little bit fiddly. Not so bad. Look, I'm holding that there. That's going to fit on there. I'm going to use my tweezers to put that there because of the sausage finger situation. Like I say, this has been thought through. It's possible. You can do it, especially if you can find your tweezers. Here they are. 125s. This is where we need all our 125s. So we'll grab a bunch of those. Okay, double check. Yeah, that's good. Right, next one. In place. So when you press these in and hold the end of this part here in, the little black thing's just going to go exactly where you need it. So that is good, clever design. And thank God it does too, because it would be a nightmare getting it there if it didn't. You watch, I'm just going to pinch the end with my fingers here. Every single one of these that you do, you need to check that these are popping out. Okay, and remember to get this part out, otherwise you won't be able to pop them down. Yeah, okay, so all of these nuts are coming undone. These ones. Maybe they were supposed to be lock nuts. Let's go back and see. So I'm just going through and I'm tightening all of these nuts. That's the one that's disappeared. Now realistically, after this is assembled, I'm not going to get another chance to do this, so... Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm checking every single one of these nuts. I'm actually going to put a little tiny drop of super glue on each one of those. Okay, so assembled. So I opened that up and put a little tiny drop on the end of a pin of super glue on each of the nuts where they were starting to come loose. And that's what it should look like. What a nice piece of kit. What a beautiful piece of kit. It says you need this ring and this ring. 24 125 screws to put this 63 onto here. And the thing is, this is a moving part and it screws onto these. Okay, so this is where I've stuffed up. There's only one of them. But I've got this on the wrong way. All the others are correct. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? Luckily, that was not too easy. Just a couple of screws and I can switch this around. Whew! That's a relief. One of the exciting things about this mechanism is it's a proper working mechanism. You know, it's, I mean, the jet engine is not going to fire up and blow flame everywhere. Well, it's going to be pretty close, but this mechanism is a beautiful thing to behold, and it's going to work. I love that I can make a goof up or two goof ups way in here and then still be this far into finishing it up and still go up back and change it without having to do the entire thing. So I was thinking before, I was comparing this to a Lego Technics build, but actually you can't do that with a Lego Technics build. With a Lego Technics build, you make a mistake far in, everything else relates on it. So in the case of this part, I'm very pleased that I could change it so easily. Remember, the ring I'm putting this on is actually a moving ring, and that's going to open and close this thrust nozzle thing. Right, now we need 12 points here. Okay, easy peasy. 12 points for this part, which is number 61, part number 61. The screws are in there. That's nice and hard to get to, but anyway, we'll do that. At this stage, while you're assembling, I would take care of this part here, put it on a bit of soft cloth. I'm going to get that now. Right, it's one more thing to lose screws in, but it's going to keep your build looking good. And the ubiquitous 125's 12 of. We've still got, look how much we've got left. So there's a fair bit to build yet, people. Now, how am I going to do this? I hope that our screwdriver fits in those holes. It does not. Not quite. Oh, yes, it does. Yep, they've thought of that. Look, people, they have thought of this. They've thought about that getting into there. So, good on them. Is it? No, that's not part 76. Ah, 76 was inside here. Just hiding in there, look. That's 76. Right, so 76 has a smaller end and a larger end, and the smaller end goes on there like that. 4 positions. You see, we've got lots of positions we could do. It says doesn't matter, just distribute uniformly 4. So we'll do that. Anti-loosening the 133s. They're specifying the 133 anti-loosening nuts. Right, I'm going to do this off camera because nuts are hard to get on. Does it need so many screws? Of course not. Does detail look great? Always. So do I mind? Not really. You just get into the meditative flow of it. The assembly line of the low pressure compressor casing is close to the upper end face of the intermediate casing protrusion. Okay, so we're using, here. Actually, this hole mates against this. Yep, there we go, and it shows it here. Okay, I have to start using my tweezers and doing this off camera, I think. So here I am, and I'm gonna get this lock nut onto this screw. So that was, getting these nuts and bolts on was truly one of the most difficult parts of the whole thing. But look at this. After getting all these parts together, they just work. That's incredible. To me, that's incredible. When I think about the quality of stuff that I've had to wrestle around with in the past, particularly the plastic versions of these that I've dealt with, not specifically these, not jet engines, but the plastic versions of the engines that are made for kids, the 4-stroke and the 4-cylinder engines, the plastic ones. They're just, stuff just doesn't line up. Well, for me it didn't. I'm not going to say which products they were, but I guess you get what you pay for. Right, and it probably says use a billion other little nuts and bolts now that you've used 1, 3, 3, 4 locking nuts, and the rest of them, of which there are many, 12 of them in fact, don't have to be locking nuts. Wow, okay. So this is the part, we're up to putting part 17 in. Here it is, part 17, and it just sits in here. Sits there perfectly. Mates to this. The big clonk you heard was this falling out for the millionth time. I better super glue that in or something, but just remember that it has to go in. And we've got 1,135 screws. So if you're looking at it, that's what it looks like. And the 135 screws go on the inner thing here. And we want to line up our windows, as you can imagine. We want to line up this window and this window, so better do that. And now we're getting to the stage where screws can just fall in and be eaten. So watch out. Watch out, you know, we're at the stage where these things can just consume screws, where they will rattle for eternity. So do watch out for that. Okay, there's the first screw in there, and we'll do one on the other side and then get around to the other 43 billion of those. Okay, that's the internal screws done. Right. Yours might not look the same because I've used laptop screws there from a laptop hard drive. A very long shaft goes in now. Shaft number 82. Let's have a look for shaft 82. Shaft 82. Wow. Nice, tapered, engineered shaft. Goes in this way. So that's going all the way up to this end, and again, if you hold it up, yep, that's locating well. Shaft 82, press it in all the way. Assemble the central axis screw, okay, which is down there, you can't see it. It is a 126 with a part 124. The part 124 is a tiny little brackety thing. Where are we? 124. A M2.5 spring cushion. We've got a few of those. The spring washer is what we're talking about here. That's one on the end of my finger. This is a M2.5 by 10. You're going to need a different hex screwdriver for that. I think they've got one for us though. This blue one they've supplied fits. Okay, let's get that in there. Yep, and like everything else, that's just going in nicely. Yep, and tight. Do that quite tight, I think. Would be a good idea. Yep, good. Okay, it says assemble that, screw it in, stick it in there good and tight. Okay, check whether everything rotates. Well, it does, except that my bevel gear keeps falling out, so I haven't got that in. So let's pop that back in now. Yep, look at that. Now, there is a great big fan. This is the fan, it's called. And it looks like a fan. It's made of a fairly soft material that's not going to break. And there it is, one fairly soft material fan. It says we need 4 screws. There are positions for 4 screws in there. They are 130s and they go on here, right on the end of that. Yep. Perfect. The 130 screws are... So locate these in the plastic as middle and as straight as you can. And then hold it and screw them in. Yep, it does spin. Doesn't like this bevel gear much. But it spins just fine. Okay, good. And now we need to stick this bit on. This bit has a bearing on the back of it. Make sure that's there. We have this part that needs to line up, okay? Okay, I've been pretty much at this stage for 2 days. This set moves really well. This set moves okay there. Not great, but then it gets over to here and it's really, really hard to move. So, yeah, that's just not working. That set, let me see. Yeah, it's just in here. That's the inner set. There's something going on between here and here. Now, problem solving this involves taking the front off completely, taking all these screws off. So this is testing the mechanism. Let's plug this in. I've taken this apart, put it back together several times. Right, what do we got? Yeah, happy with that. Yeah, it's got to be good enough. Because I've taken it apart, put it back together 3 or 4 times, getting that good. So that's good enough for me. So I recommend that you put the motor on fairly early, and every time you add part of this, you test this and check whether there's a problem with the part that you've added, because despite the parts being excellent and fitting very well, your one might be different. Any of them may not be perfect and may not be caught by the eye. In a real jet engine, of course, every single part is measured to perfection, so it's going to go together perfectly. These parts are measured to perfection before they're created. Once they're created, I doubt that every single part has been measured to perfection, you know. So you have to be that person and not measuring them, but when you're fitting them together, you need to make sure that this will rotate smoothly. If you want an engine that's going to rotate smoothly, you're still going to get the experience of building it, whether it rotates smoothly or not. You're still going to get the experience of having it on display, whether it rotates smoothly or not. And even if it doesn't rotate smoothly, the sound of it has an electronic jet engine sound, and that's going to be louder than what you can, the rotation, if it's not smooth. So I've got mine as good as I can get without taking this apart for a 4th or 5th time. We're up to here. So we're getting the cowling on. Now the other time I fitted one of these in, it fitted so well. I'm going to try and keep my little fingers off, make sure that it's clean on one side, and we're just going to try and fit that as well as we can. Again, this is an off-camera thing to do. They fit from the front because okay. You've got to bend them slightly to get them in. Okay, really nice fit, easy actually. Okay. That was part 81, and we need to add part 80. Obviously it's mate, and this goes here. Okay, so every time. So it's starting to look good, and it's been looking good right from the start. Okay, and then the next part, which consists of this bit here with a window in it. Obviously, you got to take care that your cables come out. So that is a fairly tight press fit onto here. Incredible that it all lines up. Oh, Oh, heavy. Yeah, it's a press fit onto here. It's lining up. This is well over half done. We've still got a lot of screws left, but we are up to the point of putting the window 85 on, which is this one. Just going to make sure I haven't scuffed the underneath of it. I noticed that window 85 actually has screws on this side, so we're going to have to take off 2 screws to do that. Of course, you don't notice that beforehand. Well, I didn't. Just going to push that down a bit off camera, or down here. So here we have a combination of these design lines meeting in a place where the screw wants to go downwards. It's very difficult to get the head on. But after screwing in, 93 squillion of these, you should be fine with the not easy ones by now, right? Okay, tip is on. It's time to put this on for the final time. And the 127 screws are a bit longer. M2 times 8. You can see those waiting for me. There's a flange right behind it that's kind of in the way. The tweezer's going to have to come in longitudinally, lengthwise. Should be a locking nut, but it's not going to fit. Nice, okay. Well, we're onto the base, people. That's pretty cool. One all metal base. So we're using part 79. Here they are. Oh, they're quite long. Now one's going to go each end here. They've got pass-through holes for the screwdriver, and they're using our friends, the 130. 130 M2 by M2.5 by 6 mil. 4 of. The bits that are under some mechanical strength are usually the M2.5s on this build. Excellent. And now we mount the engine. Okay. 3-point mount. Oh no, it doesn't lift off. Why not? The magnets there? I don't get it. Oh. Anyway. Connect the wires. Okay, plug it all in and observe whether all functions are complete. Okay, we can do that. Yeah, 16. Assemble the electrical control box 16. That is part 16 there. And we need 135 screws. Which are M2 by 4. Very short little M2 screws. Okay, electrical control box is on. Part 100, the connecting valve. Okay, wow. Connecting the valve. And here. And there it is. Part 100. Actually, I think it's in the top one. Yep. Connecting, oh no, that's the diverter valve. Okay. Connecting valve and control valve. Connecting valve, I believe, is the lumpier of the two. It's that one. Control valve. This is the electrical base. This is the connecting valve. Then we need the electrical control box. 90. In a bag. So that's the electrical control box 2. Then we have electrical control box 3, part 91. Another one in the bag for me. Looks identical to part 90, I think. Yeah. No, it's not identical. That goes on down there. The dots head backwards or to the right. Yeah, I like the tripod on the base. That's working for me. Okay, now we need the control valve, part 135, which is this teeny tiny thing here. And that goes here. I'm feeling the excitement of somebody who thinks that they may be getting to the end of what is a pretty complicated project. I would like to do this like an hour a night, you know, over a month, missing some hours. I'm doing it quicker than that. I'm kind of rushing through for Sterling kit because I've been given it. And I want to get it out there to show you guys by Christmas. We're now looking at the diversion valve, which is this funny looking thing here. And it has mounts that go in diagonal, and the tubing pokes to the front of the engine, in my case to the left. Right, assemble pipeline 3, and here we have pipelines. So we're going to start off with a little bit. 0, 1. Right, so this tube has holes where it goes. Here, in the middle. Okay, so... Okay. Fits in tightly, which is good. I don't have to... Yeah, good. I don't have to super glue that. This is part 3. Part 3 goes... And part 2 goes... That's it. That's it. Yeah, apparently. Right, let's have a look. So I've just realised what these are. I thought these were some kind of bracket, but of course they're teeny tiny spanners, and my word, wouldn't they have been useful if I had have known. Luckily, this was one of my you can do betters of the whole thing. I was going to say, you could do better if you supplied one of these, but actually I've got a better option here. Yeah, could have been using those. And we got 2. Leftover screws, many, so that's really good, and I love the boxes.